Good morning and happy Monday, you guys. All right, so this lesson is going to go over kind of two parts here. It's evaluating expressions, which is math number one, but there's something with integers we also have to learn in order to complete it. Now, I want to restate to make sure everyone knows it is okay if you get stuck and you can't complete a problem or every single problem on the worksheet. That does not mean it will turn into a missing assignment, anything like that. I want to make sure everyone knows that, I know you guys, as my students, know that I'm extremely flexible with this kind of thing. And I just want parents to know I am extremely flexible. So before everything becomes a fight or a huge struggle, please know you can always just stop, email me, and be like, we couldn't get through all of it, and then call it a day. The last thing I think any of us need right now is for there to be added stress or anything like that. I know there's some of you who are going through all these lessons, all the worksheets, totally fine. All of the ReadWorks assignments, the journals, science, social studies, everything. You have your routine and you're fine. But I know that's not realistic for everyone, and that's okay. And if you find that there's assignments that are too much or you need to adjust, that's absolutely okay. I'm actually going to show you how to adjust and make this lesson a little different so that it might be a little bit more manageable for you. And it'll be totally fine. You won't lose like any points or anything like that. In case you haven't noticed, if you have been clicking turned in or uploading your work onto Google Classroom, I've been giving you 10 points for getting it done. You get 100% for doing it. To be honest, you turning it in and me seeing it just shows me where you're at, and it tells me what everyone can do, just the same way it does in a regular classroom. So you're not getting like a certain amount of points or anything like that taken away because you did a problem or two wrong, or if you leave a problem or two blank. I know some people have written like need help underneath one, or like I couldn't figure it out. That's okay. The biggest thing, just like on our math test that I talk about a lot, is try just starting the problem. And if that means that you just rewrote what the problem was, that's a perfect place to start. And even if you just do that, I would be super happy with that because that's just a good practice to have. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So again, I'll show you when we get to it at a certain point where you can modify this lesson in this worksheet for yourself, for your student, because I know it can be a lot. I'm going to try to go really slowly through all of this. I'll be sharing my screen so that you can see really clearly what's behind me, but not with me in it. And then I'll be using my mouse cursor to go around which part I'm talking about and all of that. So let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and share my first screen here. Give me 1 second. All right, here it is. Okay. So what you see behind me is this lovely poster. This is also under the assignment for our math number one. So you also have access to blow this up on your computer too through Google Classroom. So, and I'll try to attach it to the email as well. So here we have our title, obviously. Now, a quick reminder is that variables are letters that just represent a number. Okay, we talked about that a little bit last week. So they usually show up as X, A, B, Y, Z. It can be literally any letter in the alphabet, okay? But these are usually the most common, okay? So these variables just show you what, or show you that there's a letter there that's going to eventually turn into a number, okay? Now, what you'll see on your worksheet is that you are going to be plugging in numbers for the variables. So looking at one of the problems right here, it's -4 times 5h plus 7b, closing the parentheses. I have all the steps right here on the right for you, okay? And we're gonna go through them step by step together. So the first step was to copy down the problem. Now, I literally copied down exactly what the problem was on the worksheet, okay? So wrote down -4 times 5h plus 7b, close the parentheses. Then I wrote off to the side here that h equals 3 and b equals 5, okay? Now, I like to underline the variables just to remind myself. I think that'll really help eventually when you're in high school and stuff, when you have lots of variables all at one time, just so that I know where they're going. Now, the second step right here is to plug in the numbers for those variables. Okay, so you're going to plug in the 3 for that H and the 5 for the B. Now, super important to remember, this creates a multiplication problem, okay? So you can see that here in my step 2, okay? So I keep the -4 the same, have them parentheses, keep the 5. Now it's gonna be times 3, because again, that H does represent 3. So what this note means is that doesn't become 53, it becomes 5 times 3, because that 5 and H were right next to each other. Okay, and remember that's one of the ways we can signal multiplication. Keep the addition problem the same, the addition sign the same, and then bring the 7 down, and then times 5, because that 5 represents the B. Now we're going to simplify, okay? So keep the -4 the same, because this kind of goes along with step 4 that we need to use PEMDAS. 5 times 3 is 15. Keep the addition sign, and 7 times 5 is 35. Then we're gonna again use PEMDAS over here, those order of operations, okay? And we're gonna keep the -4, and then 15 plus 35 is 50, all right? So we get to here. Now this is when things are gonna get tricky, okay? And it's not something we got to talk about before we all had to shelter in place. We were literally about to do it the following week, and I've kind of put it off, but it is something that we really need to cover because it comes up a lot in 7th grade. However, the way you can modify this, if the following things get too confusing, wherever you see a negative, you can just make it a positive, get rid of the negative symbol, okay? So if you try this, and it doesn't work for you, and you're confused and you're getting frustrated, any problem that has a negative sign, just get rid of it. Make it a positive, okay? Make it addition. That's fine. The most important part of this lesson is for you to practice evaluating. It's not the integer portion, okay? So I've written a note here, and I'm going to go over more in depth in a moment. But when you have a negative number, multiplied by a positive, right here, when multiplying a negative number, which is -4, by a positive number, which is 5, the answer is going to be negative every single time. So what you need to do is kind of ignore this negative sign for a second and go, what's 4 times 50? Oh, it's 200. And then realize, well, this is negative and this is positive, so this is going to end up being negative, right? So that is really, really important, okay? And I'm about to go over that right now. So down here, I have another one of our sample problems. It's a little bit more complicated because you'll see here in step 3, we have a negative added to a positive, which is why I'm going to switch over right now and show you our integers notes, which are also in Google Classroom and able for you to see so that you can see what those look like. So give me one moment here to go ahead, and you can see my face now, hopefully. And I'm going to open this up. Now looking at our integers. All right, so you should be able to see this very blurry. I'm sorry I took it in the classroom. Sign for integers. Okay, so down here at the bottom, and I know that's kind of weird we're starting at the bottom, but this is what we just talked about, okay? It gives you this cutesy little song thing to sing about. The 8th graders loved it. I'm not going to lie to you. So it kind of goes through, if you have a positive times a positive, your answer descends a positive, which is what you guys have been used to your whole lives, right? You've always done 3 times 4 is 12. Those are 2 positive numbers multiplied together, you get a positive number. That's the norm. These next 2 are if you have a positive times a negative or a negative times a positive, which either way, they're going to come out negative, okay? And the very last one, which likes to trick you because you'd think, oh, well, positive times positive is positive. Negative times negative is going to be positive. So they have these cute little, like, if you love to love, you're a lover, because love, love, love. If you love to hate, you're a hater. If you hate to love, you're a hater. And if you hate to hate, you're going to end up being a lover. So that just kind of helps walk you through it. It works the same for division, but we're not doing any division today or this week or anything like that, okay? Now, when we get up to addition and subtraction, it's a little bit more complicated, which is why I said it's okay to take those negatives off or make them positive. Even if it's a subtraction sign, you can make it addition, because I know it can be a little confusing. But this is a great thing for you to try to challenge yourself if you're feeling ready for it. And again, you're going to kind of have to use your best judgment for yourself on that, okay? So for addition here, okay, if you have 2 of the same signs, either positive or negative, you're going to end up with the answer being positive or negative. So if you have 3 plus 4, you're going to end up with positive 7. If you have -2 plus -3, you're going to get -5. You're going to add them normally and just keep the sign, okay? Now, the tricky part is when you get into different signs, okay? So if you have a positive added to a negative, okay? You're going to subtract the smaller number from the larger number. Now, what that means is, let's see if I can do this. Uh, okay. What that means is if I have something like 4 plus -1 equals, and I know I'm kind of writing over this and it doesn't look great. Sorry about it. Now, what you can see is that the 4, if we took the absolute value of it, which means how many spaces it is from 0, so it's just a larger number, ignoring the signs, 4 is a larger number than 1. So you're going to subtract 1 from 4, and 4 minus 1 is 3. Now, because that 4 is larger, you just ignore this sign altogether, and this ends up being positive 3, okay? Now I'm going to show you down here when the negative is bigger. So now if you had -4 plus 1, this is kind of hard, equals, okay? Now you're still going to subtract that 1 from the 4. It doesn't matter about the negative. It's the smaller number. 1 is just less than 4. So 4 minus 1 is 3. However, because that negative is attached to this 4, the answer is going to end up having a negative, okay? So instead of positive 3, you suddenly get -3, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and erase this so that we can talk about subtraction. Now, again, if on this worksheet you get to a point where you have to do something like this and you're like, I have no idea how to do this, that's okay. We will figure it out, okay? So I'm just going to erase all of this really quickly. This is kind of awesome. I haven't had to do this yet. I kind of love it. Yeah. So excited to do it like 6 times. Okay. Now, over here, you'll see that we have subtraction, okay? So if you have, let's see here. Let's see if I wish I could get a better color. I don't know how I ended up with this terrible color. Okay, let's see if I can do it off to the side. So if you have subtraction of, I can't, 4 minus negative 1 equals. Hopefully that's easier for you to see a little bit. I'm gonna erase this little part right here. All right, so you're gonna keep this very first number right here, okay? The 4 is gonna stay the same. You're gonna change subtraction to all of a sudden become addition, okay? And then you're gonna change the sign of the second one. So this is not gonna be negative anymore. It's gonna become positive. And then you just add. Now you have just positive 4 plus positive 1, which is just 5. Now, if you had it a different way, so say it was 4, we'll do negative 4 minus 1 equals. Again, you're going to keep that negative 4 the same because it's the first number. You're going to keep it. You're going to change subtraction to addition. You have to change the sign of the second number as well. So now all of a sudden you have negative 4 plus negative 1. And you can look over here, you have 2 negatives, so just add them together the same and keep the sign. So you get negative 5, okay? So I really hope that's a little bit more helpful. I'm gonna go ahead and erase these really quickly. We're gonna take a look at the worksheet right now. Second. I want to work through some of the problems with you guys. Share screen. This guy. Alrighty. I know you can see it and me doing things to it. Okay. Alrighty. So we did problem number 1 together right here. Okay. So now we're going to take a moment and we're going to attempt to do, we'll attempt to do problem number 4 here. So let me get like my annotation stuff out. So we're going to do problem number 4. So I'm circling it for you. Okay. Now, the first step would be to rewrite this. And I'm not going to lie to you, this is very hard to write on in the first place, so I'm not going to rewrite it. But if you're doing this on a separate sheet of paper, you 1000% should, okay? So the first thing we're going to do after that is we are going to plug in our numbers for our variables. So we're going to rewrite that 3 times negative 6. We're going to multiply that by 6 because the x equals 6 plus 9 times 3 because the s becomes a 3. So again, keep that 3 for the next step. Now, we've got a negative times a positive, which remember, if you hate to love, you're going to be a hater. So that's going to become negative 36. Now, again, this is a great place if you're like, IDK, I hate these negatives, you can make that a positive, and then it could just be positive 36. Plus 9 times 3, which is 27. Now here, we're going to have to refer to those integer notes. And if you remember, we are just going to subtract 36 minus 27, just like normal, ignoring the signs, okay? Which is going to give us 9. And because 36 is larger, it's going to end up being a negative. And then we can't forget about our little 3. I'm sorry, this is so hard to do with my trackpad. And then 3 times 9, again, is 27. And we got to throw that negative on. And then that's your final answer. Okay? So I'm going to show you really quickly going through this exact worksheet. if you look at like number 2 up here, you can always make this -6 a +6. You can always make this -4 down here a +4 in problem 5. In problem 10, you can always make this -3 and this -5 positive if you want. Um, in number 9, you can always make this as a positive as well and add 7z instead. Anything like that, anywhere you see it on this page in problem 8, 7, whatever you need, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. Alrighty, so again, lots of ways to modify this for yourself, okay? And that is perfectly fine to do. Hopefully this video was a lot more helpful. All the videos I'm posting this week are going to kind of have that screen sharing option. So hopefully that makes it a little bit easier when it comes to pausing and being able to do problems at the same time. That's extremely helpful. Alrighty. So let me know if you have any questions and good luck. You're going to do great. Just remember, whatever you need to do to modify it for yourself or to make it more manageable, do that. That is perfectly fine. Okay, you guys? I miss you a lot. I hope you're doing okay. And I hope I get to see you soon. All right? Alrighty. Goodbye, guys.